In this tutorial series, what we're going to do is look at gamification, but from a very simple perspective. The reality is you need two things. So one is you need to learn more about gamification. So if you want to learn more about gamification, there's some great books and resources that we reference in the resource page for the webinars. The other thing is you need to learn to work with variables in Storyline. And since this is kind of a gamification 101, we're going to look at the basics of that. The cool thing is that even though these are relatively simple slides and activities, once you understand how variables work, those are the foundational features and production techniques that you're going to, or things that you're going to need to know how to do. But once you understand the way they work, it's just a matter of figuring out how complex you want the experience to be when you're building a course. And then the other thing is I'll point out here is, I'm not a graphic designer, so I'm always looking at shortcuts or ways I can quickly get a good-looking course without, being a graphic designer. So I use the content library templates, and what I did was figured out, okay, what can I use within those templates? Since they're already designed, they look great. There's, 50 or 60 or 100 slides associated with the templates. So I can mix and match those with my gamified elements. So I kind of start with the content library template, and then I just use some of the elements. So like these little hexagon shapes, you'll see those throughout. So let me show you what we have here, and then the following tutorials will actually go through them at a slide-by-slide basis. So this is the player here. First thing I'll point out is I always build like a set variables. What this is kind of like a cheat box. So what I can do is come in here and set my variables. For example, to get to module 3 in the course, I have to complete module 1 and 2. Well, every time I test that, I don't want to have to can go through every single module to test module 3. So I can come in here and preset the variables, and then I can go right into module 3. Or add names and do tests and all that. So whatever variables you have, you can add little cheats here so you can quickly modify the variables and set them to something specific so you can do your testing. And then when you're done with the course, you obviously wouldn't make this available. You can just disable that. So that's the first thing there. So we're going to go through this. One thing you'll notice is the next button's disabled. This is set up for me to add a name and choose an avatar. And so as I do that, you'll see that the name and avatar appear, and that triggers my congratulation texts. So in a sense, this is a personalized experience. It's also a way to track progress because the badge is complete. That allows me to move on. And you'll also see that the next button is now enabled. Because I chose this avatar, when I get to this slide, that's the avatar I see. If I go back here, let's say I chose the other avatar, you can see that's going to change dynamically, which is really the power of variables, right? Because the variables allow me to have this value that I can carry through the entire course, and I can always reference that and do things. So let's go ahead and look at our dashboard, the other thing. So if I have my avatars, I can choose an avatar, right? So you can see it changed again. I have this little dashboard. Some people call them dashboards, briefcase, suitcase. Essentially, it's kind of a way for me to see the progress through my course. So I've got my badge with my personalized stuff. And then these are 3 different modules. So these are, again, this is simple, but we're just evaluating 3 things. How did you do on this one activity? How many trophies have you collected throughout the course? And are you a risk taker? So those are the 3 things that make up this demo course. So I can always access that whenever I have access to the dashboard. The other thing is we could put a dashboard up here in the same way that we have the variable set up. We could do a dashboard up here so you can click on it. It's always available to you on the player, and you don't have to wait to get to a slide to access that. So let's go through this. I'm going to finish module 1. Module 1, I'm just clicking, collecting, right? Clicking. Collecting. You can see here it's a little bit different. There's a progress meter down here. I'm also setting these to disabled state, so I can't re-click on them. So that's one way I'm setting to track, right? So I've collected my trophies, and I can see that here. I've collected 5 trophies so far. I'm done with this. So we're going to close, and that's going to take me back. I finished that module. So now I can go to Module 2. So go to Module 2. Module 2 is a little timing thing, so I have to click within 5 seconds. So we'll just click through it real quick. And I've got 5 seconds to click here, so that's my activity. Once the 5 seconds are up, I can collect my trophy, continue. If I come back here, you can see I've got more trophies, and it's tracking my clicks. So the key here is those variables that we're using to track activities on the slides. Those are available everywhere, and we're able to report that back to the user in this particular case. But again, you can do whatever you want to with them. It's just a matter of how complex you want your course to be. And then Module 3, you can bet your trophies double or nothing. So are you a risk taker, right? So that could be our activity. And if I say no, that's going to just say, hey, too bad, you're not a risk taker. You don't get anything, right? So you're not a risk taker, and boo-hoo-hoo, right? Or we're going to be a risk taker, and let's see what happens. Oh, and I didn't win, so I lost everything. So it's probably not good to always be a risk taker. The good thing is I can see that here. Now I am a risk taker, right? So I'm being rewarded even though I lost all my trophies. And we're going to continue next. Now I can see all the modules are done, so that took me to the exit screen, and we can exit the course. And I can restart the course if I want to. All right, so that's basically the way it works. So that's the quick overview. And then in the following tutorials, we're going to break it down slide by slide, so you kind of see what we did. And now we're going to break it down slide by slide, and I'll talk through some of the nuances and the variables, but also some production things as well.